I just want to set the scene for people. Tim is podcasting in a suit. And I am wearing my tennis gear because I'm playing tennis straight after the podcast. So we could not be more differently dressed.
You're wearing black tennis gear. I can't believe you live in England and you don't wear white, pure pristine white to go and play tennis. Just like Wimbledon.
Next week, I'm going to the beach where they recorded the opening scene of Chariots of Fire.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm so tempted to wear all white and run along the beach and get someone to film me in slow motion.
I've got my tie here. Maybe I'll sleek that over my shoulder. A bit like, the end of the night, a jazz singer just sort of has their tie undone just around their shoulder like that. Yeah.
I've had two ideas that I've been going back and forward between literally every few seconds about which one I should do. I'm going to go for this one. This is not like the most original idea, and I think there are so many podcasts in the world now that I think people have to get used to the idea that the Unmade podcast isn't necessarily podcasts that have never been made. They're podcasts that have never been made by us.
Oh, man, that's going to make it so much easier in the future.
They're things that we would like to do or do in our unique way. So this idea I've had, I'm going to call this the Supreme Court. And this is a chance for you and I to rule on things that are undecided once and for all. We are the Supreme Court.
Nice.
That will decide issues. I'm not talking Judge Judy. I'm not talking two people arguing over who owes who $50 or who gets the apples from next door's apple tree or something. These are more big, fundamental issues that need to be decided.
Right.
And I've got one for us now that was based on an experience yesterday.
Yes.
Was doing the crossword yesterday with my wife, as always. And a clue was an involuntary expulsion of air. And the answer was a sneeze. And this has me wondering, is a sneeze voluntary or involuntary?
Well, this is a question philosophers have debated for centuries, Brady. I'm not sure we're going to be able to do it justice in the few minutes that we have here.
Yeah. It's a burning question. It's in the middle ground, isn't it? Because, the sudden compulsion to do it obviously is involuntary. But then I feel like sometimes you have control over the timing. Sometimes you may even be able to suppress it. Other times you can't. Is a sneeze voluntary?
I do know that when it doesn't eventuate, where there's the promise of a sneeze, but it doesn't occur.
The promise of a sneeze. It's a romantic comedy.
The promise of a sneeze.
That new Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan movie.
Well, there's a letdown. I mean, it's profoundly disappointing to have a sneeze not eventuate when there's been the promise of a sneeze. So it's, oh, dear. But certainly, if you were to compare a cough and a sneeze kicks it out of the park. There's no question. The coughs are awful. Sneezes are amazing. Everyone loves a sneeze.
Sneezes are generally nice. Most of the time, yeah.
Unless you've got hay fever and they overstay their welcome.
You're not answering the question, though. Is it voluntary or not? Is it a voluntary? The crossword said involuntary.
I think the fact that we feel disappointed when it doesn't happen means that we don't have total control. It's not like blinking. Well, blinking's the same. You blink involuntarily, but you can control it. You can blink when you choose to.
Or not blink when you choose to.
That's right. Well, for a period of time at least. I think it's involuntary. You can't suddenly go achoo except by faking an achoo. You can't sneeze at will.
You're attacking this problem from the exact opposite direction of me, though. When I think about this, I'm thinking, can I suppress the sneeze? Do I have that control? But you seem to be having the attitude of, can I conjure one up out of nowhere? So you're looking at it differently to me, which is interesting in itself. And I think your argument actually, in some ways, is stronger. Yeah, you're right. You can't conjure up a sneeze out of nowhere.
Not without a bit of pepper.
But I'm saying, if you feel like you need to sneeze, if you can control it, does that mean it's voluntary? Like, for example, your heart beating. You can't just say, all right, I'm going to skip my next 5 heartbeats, or I'm going to stop my heart for 5 minutes and then start it again, or I'm going to make my heart beat twice as fast.
No.
Just with your mind. You can't do that.
Unless this was a Tom Hanks movie, in which case my heart would be beating very fast indeed.
So, like, your heart beating is clearly involuntary.
Yes.
You know, and there are all sorts of things going on in your body that are totally involuntary. Blinking is an interesting one you bring up. Hearing is involuntary, isn't it? You can't help but hear things.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, just breathing itself. Breathing you can control, but it has to operate on its own. It's got an automatic pilot. There are certain things that have an automatic pilot. Even though you can take the controls, by and large, you let the automatic pilot do the job for you.
Yeah. Like, for example, is going to the toilet voluntary? Well, yes, hopefully. But in other ways, like, you have to do it. And it's,
At some stage.
By the way, I'm well aware, I'm sure if we go onto Google, there'll be some name for these actions that are semi-involuntary. But Googling and finding out the actual scientific information goes against the spirit of this podcast and this conversation.
I know. I'm sure other Supreme Court judges aren't just Googling the answer. I mean, it's well beneath their state.
We need to go to the Constitution.
Can I just point out a problem with your idea as a whole, though? And that is that there's two of us. Famously, Supreme Courts and High Courts need an odd number of judges to ensure that they're not deadlocked.
They don't have to be odd-numbered, but yeah, it helps. It helps.
Well, what if you say, yes, it's voluntary, and I say, no, it's involuntary?
Then we go with my decision.
Right, okay.
I like to think of myself as the Chief Justice.
So basically, you're Judge Judy, and I'm that guy in the security uniform that just stands next to her. Is that right?
Come to think of it, on a two-person court, when I have the veto, you basically are powerless. It's basically just Brady decides.
I'm the clerk. That's right. I'm the guy who gets to say, all rise. Brady walks.
That's a big honour.
Oh, yeah. I would love to be that guy just for a day. All rise.
I used to go to court a lot for work when I used to cover court cases. And one of my favourite things to do is you're supposed to do a little bow to the judge when you come in and out of the courtroom, like if the session's in progress. And I used to just love the respect of doing that. I used to love coming into the court and doing this little deferential nod. It felt so like, I don't know, I felt so full of honour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice.
It feels noble, chivalrous or something.
It does. Like when you go into a church or something and you dip your finger in the water and make a little, like in a Catholic church, you make a little cross. You feel like, even though it's not something I'm particularly believing in, I feel like this is so respectful of me.
I felt a similar kind of thing. Obviously, I don't necessarily... I feel that in a church, but it's much more familiar. But a couple of years ago, I went to a synagogue and there's that wonderful sense of newness and awe and respect around having to wear... Is it a yarmulke? What is it that you wear on your head?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Just being able to engage in their traditions for their... had a lovely nobility to it and respect about it. Themes we don't often engage in here in the Unmade podcast. No. As you can see, I'm wearing a suit tonight because of the way I like to engage in the dignity of our podcast recordings. Yeah.
I like to think if people come into the podcast partway through as well, they do like a little nod as they start listening, like just a little... I'm here.
Like that nod that Boba Fett does in Jabba the Hutt's palace. Is that
Best nod ever. Best nod ever. I wonder how many takes that took, that nod that Boba Fett gave to Princess Leia.
Do you know another little moment of respect I had this week is when I was driving along in the car and we all paused in traffic, the car in front, and then the traffic took off again, but the car in front didn't. And I was just like, about to sort of beep or feel impatient. And then I looked through the window and I could see that the guy had a McDonald's French fry bucket holder and was just doing that, pouring it directly into his mouth thing. And
like a cup. Yeah.
Like a cup, just going the last few.
No, the last 10.
So I just paused and just let him have his moment like that. This guy deserves... That's a precious moment right there.
Been there.
Just everyone else can wait. Let's just give this guy some room,
I love the mental image of him having this cup of fries, pouring it down his throat, looking up, seeing the green light with horror, looking in his rearview mirror, seeing Tim, and Tim just doing the Boba Fett nod.
A little respectful nod. I hear you, man. I've given you that moment. I'm going to let you have it. Full respect. Whatever you've done, you've earned it today. Like that's a great moment.
More likely he'd look in his rearview mirror and there would be Tim doing the exact same thing with some KFC chips.
It's like, oh, that's a reminder. I've got something back here that I may have left.
We've all been there. My sister had her first car for 2 hours before she got crashed into. It was partly her fault because she stalled in an intersection because she was a new driver, but she got hit by a guy who was not looking and eating McDonald's, who then barreled into her. Yeah. So
I don't remember that fact.
I don't know if she gave him a respectful nod.
When else do you do a little respectful nod in society, in polite society?
Well, a lot of them are driving. One of them is when someone lets you in traffic or changing lanes, and there's this like, you know, the either the raise of the finger on the steering wheel or just the nod, like yeah.
There is always a strange situation. You know, when you're coming into a room or you're late for something, a meeting or something's going on and you sit down and you know that you know other people around the table or something. And so there's a little, is it sort of like just a, yep, hello, nod or something like that? Or is it a big hello, you know what I mean? Like it's a fine line to work out how many people that you know you have to sort of give the eye acknowledgement of, hello, you and I know each other and I've arrived and I've recognised that you're here and I'm here and now I'm sitting down and let's all now look at the person talking again. You know what I mean? Like that little dance is difficult to navigate. I've got a friend who does who does a significant one, like not just a g'day, yep, okay, but he actually does a hello. He waits till he sits down, then he does a big, you know, hello, like really respectfully, and then
you realise I can see you, but everyone listening can't. As you do these gestures.
But they can see what I'm doing. They can hear what I'm doing when I do a little...
You can feel it. You can feel it.
Yep.
I'm learning a whole bunch of new moments like that where you have this swelling of nobility since I've started playing tennis a lot more. Because there are lots of moments of etiquette playing tennis. One of my favourites is like the bond of trust involving line calls. Like if the other person hits it and it's like miles away from them, but it's right near me and I can tell if it's in or out. And there's the whole honesty system of me saying, yes, that was in, you win, or sorry, that was out by a centimetre, you lose. And kind of the trust involved there and the not challenging each other is very like, feels very special. And it would only happen at our amateur level. But it's like, you know, I could have called that out and had the point, but I'm being honest. That was in by a millimetre and I'm letting you have it. Like, and there's lots of moments like that.
A major gesture of sportsmanship and statesmanship.
Yes, statesmanship. That's how I like to describe myself. A statesman.
Linesmanship. Do you have that sense that if you cheated, then winning is not going to feel that satisfying then? You know what I mean? Like it's just so pathetic to cheat at something so small. It's like, of course it was, just, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's part of the enjoyment is the entering into it fully by being good and true.
And being a gracious loser, which I'm getting a lot of practice at the moment. Like losing, but saying that was really great. Thank you very much. Like, you know, that's nice too. Yeah.
I've never known you to be a gracious... I don't think we've played a sport where you've been the loser, to be honest. I literally...
That's because I'm playing you.
That's right. I know.
Where have we landed on the sneeze?
Oh, I think it's involuntary.
Involuntary.
Yes.
Involuntary. But you're saying that because you can't conjure them up. You're not saying it because you have the ability to stop them or not stop them.
No, I think you can't. I don't think you can stop them. I think you can suppress them, but not totally.
Yep. Okay. All right.
Do you agree? Do you concur?
I think they're in a grey area here. I think it's the middle ground.
There's no grey area in the law.
Yeah, you're right. I feel like they're sort of semi-involuntary, but I don't know. I guess if I had to choose one or the other, I think maybe you've convinced me to make them involuntary. I thought they were voluntary, but I think maybe talking to you has persuaded me to go the other way.
Gosh. I just think you don't like the idea of there's something that you do that you're not in control of. Like, I think you're a control freak and you're like, sneezing's not doing me. I'm sneezing when I choose.
I'm controlling my heartbeats right now. I've got everything on the go, all these pots on the go. So, what are your sneezes like? Are you one of those people that does those cute little, like, suppressed sneezes? Or are you someone who does big, roaring, rah sneezes?
I love to really throw myself into a sneeze.
Yeah.
However, COVID etiquette makes that a little bit more difficult in public settings.
Yeah.
I sneezed today, but I was about to say something to someone. And so I went to open my mouth and then I sort of had to turn away and do a whole...
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So...
Is there anything spring to mind that you would bring to the Supreme Court at the moment? Or I know I haven't pre-warned you.
So many big issues.
There are all these classic ones, right? Like, I don't want to do the old chestnuts like, is a hamburger a sandwich?
Oh.
Is a tennis ball yellow or green?
Oh,
all those sort of things.
Hang on a sec. How are these old chestnuts? I've not heard these before.
These are old chestnuts.
Is it yellow or... Well, they're clearly green.
They're yellow. I reckon.
They're not they're not yellow.
Tennis balls are yellow. I've had this discussion a few times before in another place.
Have you got one there though? If you're going to play tennis, have you got a tennis ball there?
I'm afraid they're downstairs.
Very convenient.
You know, there are pictures of them on the internet apparently.
Well, we're not allowed to Google though. Supreme Court judges don't Google.
Oh yeah, you're right. Well, you're right, yeah. Well, if there's anything you want to bring to the court at a later date, or if there's anything any listeners want to bring to the court, unmadefm@gmail.com. Send us an email. Tim and I will be happy to deliberate. And if we can't decide, then I'll deliberate.
Yes. But I'll say, before you deliberate, I will say, all rise.
All rise.
All rise.
Podcast host Brady Harron sitting. The Right Honourable Brady Harron, OAM.
I love that they... OAM, yes.
Yes.
Hey, when is your... This is a few weeks when you are, I want to say knighted, when you are bestowed with the Order of Australia by a member of the royal family.
The investiture, yes. And I should be getting my medal in a couple of weeks. Don't worry, man. I'll be letting you know when I get it.
Oh. Very important to decide what vest you wear when you are investitured with.
I have to wear a suit. I might borrow that one you're wearing. That looks pretty good.
Oh, this is nice.
I might go for the tie around the neck as well, like you were, like just to get that kind of James Bond look. So walk into the castle.
I'm imagining a scene very much like the final scene of the original Star Wars, where
I should wear that yellow jacket that Luke Skywalker wears. That yellow vinyl faux leather. That would be awesome.
With boots.
Oh, that would be amazing. The only thing that'd be better would be a Chewbacca outfit.
Although he doesn't get one, does he? He's just standing there.
That's right.
Just hope that Princess Leia gives it to you.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That's the princess. Of all the princesses, that's the princess you want giving you one from the royal family. Yeah.
I think I've told you before that when I was a kid watching that scene at the end of Star Wars and I was really young, I thought that was a wedding and Han Solo and Luke were both marrying Princess Leia.
Yes. In fact, you've told me that. And then when we watched Star Wars with my daughters, I told them that you thought that. And they both roared with laughter at you.
It would be a weird wedding.
You get a medal. Well done. You get a medal for marrying this person.
It just shows what I'm like, you know, in my little head, if there's a big crowd and a lady in a white dress, that's a wedding.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. I guess I assumed Chewie was the best man. I don't know what I thought was going on. Let's talk about hover.
Oh, hover. Great. What do you want to tell me about hover? Hover.
What do you want to tell me about hover?
Is the practice of buying a domain name through hover and implementing it as your website domain name known as hovercraft. It's a real skill. It's good craft. It's wonderful.
Practicing hovercraft.
Practicing hovercraft. The practice of buying a hover domain, implementing it as your domain name for your website. That is. I now say that from now on. That is hovercraft.
Would you describe me as a hover craftsman?
Absolutely. You are a hover craftsman.
All right. Because I've registered many, many domains with hover, so that makes me a real hover craftsman.
You are.
Hover is the one-stop shop website that you should go to for registering and managing your domains. Someone like me has lots of domains. Businesses, I imagine, you should probably be registering lots of domains for various reasons. But I think even just the average man and woman in the street, it's worth having a few domains, whether they're to do with your person with your own name. You know, you can timhine.net or timhine.spoon or something you might want to get, or something to do with an event or a hobby you do. Having a domain's really good because even if you haven't got like a proper website that you've built from scratch, you can divert domains to your Twitter or your Facebook page or some other website. There are all sorts of things you can do, and you can do it all through the interface of Hover, which is super easy to use, very reasonably priced. I'm a huge, huge fan, and you will get 10% off your first Hover purchase if you go to hover.com/unmade, hover.com/unmade. Make sure you do that for the 10% discount, and so that Hover know you came from here, from your favourite Hover craftsmen, Tim and Brady. You've been looking to register anything lately?
No, I have very few domains, but the ones I do have, I have through Hover. I'm more of a sort of a part-time hover craftsman.
Right, you're a hobbyist.
You are more of a backyard sort of hover craftsman.
Backyard domain registering.
You're a professional though. You're a real professional, and the fact that you go to Hover is a credit to Hover.
Seriously, it's a really good interface. Those of you who have had experience registering domains with other registrars will know they can be a bit of a nightmare. It can be confusing. Hover make it all so simple and elegant. Just go and have a look at their site, and I think you'll be impressed. Go and practice some hovercraft today at hover.com/unmade.
Well, one point of correction, hovercraftsperson is a title that's more inclusive, man. Hovercraftsperson.
Hovercraftsperson.
That's a lot of syllables, though, isn't it?
And then so you can have hovercraftpersonship. Like what do you hovercraftpersonmanship? No, not hovercraftpersonship. I don't know.
Yep, .com. But get that from.
It's time for Spoon of the Week. For first-time listeners who are still listening after that Hover ad, which is quite something, Spoon of the Week is a section where we dip into the Hine family archive of souvenir spoons from holidays and experiences over the years that were collected by Tim's dad and mum, although his mum seems to have forgotten where most of them came from, and have now been passed down to Tim. He is now the custodian, and each week he pulls another one off the rack and shares it with us, the civilians. What do you got this week, Tim?
Oh, I'm really enthusiastic about this one because I've pulled it out over the months many times and then thought, no, I think we've done this one. It's so familiar to me because the image is very familiar and it's also a part of the place alongside Melbourne down on the peninsula, the Mornington Peninsula, that we've had a few spoons from, namely because that's where we went for lots of holidays. So it makes a lot of sense. We've collected a lot of spoons. This spoon is beautiful. It's from Sorrento. Now, Sorrento is a beautiful holiday town on what's called the Mornington Peninsula. This is like the city of Melbourne, big capital city. You head down the coast to the beach. This is a beautiful place to go. There are lots of people that have holiday homes in Sorrento and go on holidays down there. And so this spoon is round at the top and it has a lovely, colourful picture of yellow sandy beach and some waves coming in and the water and then some hills with greenery. It's a really beautiful, idyllic picture. And then it says the word Sorrento underneath in a sort of, it's almost like an Art Deco kind of style.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's a good looking spoon. Of course, there is also a place called Sorrento in Italy, which is one of the world's most famous holiday destinations.
Yes. When I think of Sorrento, though, I can't help thinking of Tina Arena.
Sorrento Moon.
Yes. Tina Arena is an Australian singer who's also huge in France. French listeners will know her as well. She had a song called Sorrento Moon, and I have to say, I love Tina Arena. When I was a kid, she was on a television program called Young Talent Time, and I loved it so much that on Saturday afternoons, when it was about to start, my mum or dad would get to the back door and call out to where I was playing and say, "It's Tina time." And I would come in to watch Tina Arena. And so we've sort of grown up together. She has this, I love this song, Sorrento Moon, as well. It's on like one of my playlists on my iPhone. Good song.
Is that about Sorrento near Melbourne or Sorrento in Italy?
Funny you say that. It's about Melbourne. She's from Melbourne.
Yeah.
And I've actually heard her make that point in an interview where listeners around the world have thought the song was about that Sorrento, but actually it's about where she went on holiday when she was a kid just south of Melbourne. So I like that little connection as well.
Well, you've got the spoon, you've got the song, you've got the fond memories of Tina Arena. What's Tina Arena up to these days?
I think she lives in either France or Melbourne or moves between them. She's really, you know how it's peculiar how suddenly an artist becomes massive in another random country. And she's like that in France. She's massive, but then not in other European countries so much. And then, of course, here in home in Australia.
Good stuff. Tina time.
Tina time, that's right.
Tina time. Now, we like to give away a souvenir spoon each week, an Unmade podcast souvenir spoon, which we've had struck here in the UK. The lucky Patreon supporter who's getting one this week is Ben G from Leicestershire. Congratulations, Ben, here in the UK. And also, this week I've got 5 people who are going to receive Spoon of the Week collector cards. We have an incredible range of collector cards of spoons that have been featured in the past. And cards are going to be sent to The Squid from Seattle, Monty from Surrey, Heinz O from Austria, and then incredibly, Monty from Surrey came out of the hat again. So Monty's getting a double dose of spoon cards.
Go, Monty.
And then another coincidence, Alexander G, also from Surrey. So we've got a whole bunch of spoons heading off to Surrey, which is a county in the UK. And so you will get cards. And this week, for the first time, we've also randomly chosen a Patreon supporter to receive one of our mixtapes of sofa shop covers. And that is going to be sent to Jim from Omaha in Nebraska. You are receiving fantastic mixtape audio cassette of sofa shop covers.
Congratulations.
Go to patreon.com/unmadefm if you'd like to support the show, help us make more episodes, but also receive goodies like that.
Don't you do a thing until you see the sofa shop.
Congratulations, everybody. Especially half the residents of Surrey.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Tim, have you got an idea for a podcast?
I took a bit of a random selection process tonight where I couldn't decide on my idea, so I flicked through my list until I put my finger on something. And the idea that's come out is the coolest guy in my primary school. When you're a kid, right, there's 2 things that shape cool. One is who you see on the TV, you know, like movie stars and, you know, John Bon Jovi or whatever in music video clips and stuff. But also the cool in close proximity. That is the person who's at
The popular
kid. Yeah. And maybe that's a better title, the most popular kid in my primary school.
Yeah.
These are people that peak very early in life. You know, somehow they make it to the top almost immediately. And
And do they last? Do they last? Like, where are they now? Are they still awesome? Or did they, like, was that like the start of a decline?
are they still the head of the coolest kid in primary school? Let's hope they've graduated.
Yeah.
At least into high school. When I think about this category for me, I think about a guy called Wes.
Wes,
yeah, Wesley, yeah. And Wes was Wes was a cool guy. Wes was, he's a good-looking guy, had a nice mullet. At one stage had a rat's tail because that was pretty cool there. He played...
That's a hairstyle for people who think there was some kid at Tim's school walking around with an actual rat's tail. Yeah.
Rat's tail? I'm sure they were universal in 1986. Come on.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, Wes played footy.
Was he good at footy?
Yeah, he was. He was really good at footy. He played centre-half forward.
He was a big kid, was he? Was he big?
No, well, in primary school terms. No, he wasn't big, but he was a strong mark. Back then, you tended to have your big guy in full forward. Remember the old days of full forward, and the centre half forward was more, skillful at getting out of the centre.
Okay.
And I was in the forward line, pretty much just watching these guys play football around me as I shivered in the cold and wished I had my glasses on.
So, were you good mates with Wes? Were you in his inner circle, or was he too high up for you?
Too high up for me. I wasn't far though. He seemed to like me or encourage me to come and join the footy team, and every now and then was nice. Do you know what I mean? But we weren't close mates. No, he had some cool close mates, and I wasn't part of that.
No. And do you know what happened to Wes? Did he stay cool?
I'm sure he stayed cool. I think he's driving big trucks like Mack trucks and stuff, which
is even cooler.
I know. In primary school eyes is like the most amazing thing ever. Huge big trucks. I think that's what he's doing. I actually have no idea, but I remember quite a few years later, after primary school, like after high school even, but still like 20 years ago, I was going through my hometown and I looked him up and went to his workplace and said g'day and that sort of stuff. He wasn't driving trucks then. I think I've just seen that somewhere since, maybe, I don't know where, on social media probably. Yeah, so yeah, it's so funny. You can still see... I can still see him crystal clear in my eyes. And there would be days when I would sort of put on clothes in the morning thinking, oh, geez, I hope I look like Wes today,
So I like this idea, and I like it because there's obviously a real sort of cliche or trope that, the cool kid in high school who's like the quarterback or something like that, and then he'll become... and he'll be like the prom king, or something like that. And then the cliche is he'll become a bit washed up and never leave his hometown and always live on those sort of past glories. It's a bit of a cliche, isn't it? That the kid who's the most popular in high school then doesn't really amount to much. And I don't know if that's true or not. But I like the idea of projecting it further back to primary school because it's somehow a bit cuter then, because being the popular kid in primary school is somehow a bit sweeter than the person who's the popular kid in high school, who can often be a bit of a bully or a bit mean and that. But in primary school, you still like him even though he's popular. Like, a lot of people resent the popular kid in high school.
Yes.
But you don't resent the popular kid in primary school.
Yes, the pecking order at high school can be quite brutal. In primary school, it's a bit softer. Everyone's a bit more even in retrospect. Yeah. Even though it doesn't feel like it at the time, that's for sure.
Yeah. The popular kid for me was definitely Simon,
right?
And he was like the best athlete and the fastest runner, which is the key to popularity. Mm-hmm. And I've told stories about Simon before, a famous Father Christmas story. Like, we were talking earlier about the Supreme Court, who decides if something's true or not. It was Simon. Simon basically decided if something was true or not, and all the other boys just would do whatever Simon said.
He had a lot of yes men around, did he?
Exactly, yeah. So, I've told the story about Father Christmas, so I won't tell it again. But another story I remember involving Simon was he had his birthday party, and I think it was at the Adelaide Aquatic Centre. And when we were driving back from the aquatic centre back down to Glenelg where we lived, we had to drive along West Terrace in Adelaide, and there were a whole bunch of car dealerships there. And as we were driving past a car dealership, in Simon's family car actually, I saw a Ferrari parked in the forecourt for sale of one of these car dealerships, and I'd never seen a Ferrari in real life. You would never see a Ferrari in Adelaide. And I was like, oh my God, it's a Ferrari. And I was pointing at it and no one else saw it. And I was telling them, I swear I saw a Ferrari. And I felt a bit like Chunk in the Goonies when he's saying that he'd seen all these amazing things and no one believed him. Like how he said he saw a car chase with guns and stuff, and everyone's like, whatever, Chunk, you always make stuff up. And no one believed me. And Simon told all the other boys there was no Ferrari. Brady's making it up. And I was a pariah all week at school as this kid that had made up this story about the Ferrari. And Simon went home, I think, and told his parents that Brady was making up this story about a Ferrari, but don't worry, I've taken care of things. And he's now, he's public enemy number one. So Simon's dad, bless him, that weekend drove into Adelaide to West Terrace to check and went to the car dealership. And sure enough, there was this Ferrari there. And he was like, this is amazing. And he went and got Simon and took Simon to the car dealership so they could go and look at this Ferrari. So the next Monday at school, Simon turned up and retracted and said, guys, there is a Ferrari on West Terrace. Brady was telling the truth. And I was like, oh, thank God, I'm all right again. But the Ferrari only existed when Simon said it existed, not when I said it existed.
Well, this is There are so many layers to this story. First of all, amazing that his father would do that. Like, he's like the rogue lawyer going off and finding the little piece of evidence to overturn the verdict.
Yeah.
Look, Your Honour, I found it.
Like in the name of the father.
That's right. Unbelievable. Secondly, the fact that this was a thing that that an adult needed to verify, there being one Ferrari in Adelaide, is giving people a far more proportionate view of Adelaide's size and scope as even a capital city. There was one Ferrari.
Again, I don't really know what happened to Simon. He has a very small online footprint, not on social media that I can find, so I don't really know what happened to him. I once spoke to someone else who I went to primary school with who had seen him once from a distance and said he looked really tough now and had lots of tattoos. But, having lots of tattoos is really cool now. Could have been David Beckham, so...
That's right.
But that's all I know. All I know is that he got tattoos later in life. That's all I know about him.
That's not a lot.
And he drives a Ferrari.
And he's probably now got a Ferrari.
Yeah.
That's been the defining event of his life.
He was a very, very talented runner. He broke lots of records.
What does that mean in primary school, running? I mean, running is... Like, it's all just running until you get to the fastest person alive. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean broke record? What records?
I think I always... Well, no, I mean, as he got older, he broke state records. But even when he was young, like we would... Like, how you do school sports days, right?
Yeah.
And he'd win everything, of course. But then there would be, like, the intra-school sports days where you compete against other schools and then we all get thrashed. But he would win he would win all those events and beat all the kids from the other schools, and then he would represent the state, and he was like a proper runner.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like a proper athlete.
Not just like from your classroom to the monkey bars and back. He was like,
There was one thing that happened at a school sports day once, though. You know the film Chariots of Fire, which I'm bringing up for the second time today. There's a scene in Chariots of Fire when Eric Liddell gets knocked to the ground at the start of a race, and everyone runs away, and he gets up and just gets the bit between his teeth and just overtakes them all from miles behind and wins this race, this freak win. That actually once happened to a race with Simon at a school sports day. He got knocked over at the start of this race and everyone ran ahead and he was on the ground, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to see Simon lose a race for the first time in my life. And he got up and dusted himself down and then just took off and did this Eric Liddell run over 400 metres around absolutely everyone and beat them. It was incredible.
Oh, wow.
The only thing I didn't like about... Because I was actually one of Simon's best friends. Like, I was in quite a small school, so, it's not like, I was the chosen one. But we'd gone to school together all our lives, so we were very good friends. The only thing I didn't like about Simon was all the girls fancied him. So if there was ever a girl you had a crush on, you never had a chance because all the girls just had a crush on Simon. So it was like,
okay.
Yeah. So it was like, oh, what chance have I got?
Yeah. So you could run fast, and girls like... Well, didn't you go to an all-boys school at that stage, though?
No, this was before I went to an all-boys school.
Oh, right, okay.
Primary school was girls.
I thought I'd found a flaw in your story, but...
No.
Like the Ferrari, it's borne out true.
Yep. Honest Brady. I did it with my hatchet.
What if we had Wes and Simon on to interview them and talk to them about, did they know how cool they were when they were young, and were they aware that they were the stars in our eyes,
Imagine if they listen to the podcast now and think we're awesome. That's not very likely, is it?
No. But, after all these years, he decides to looks me up, and I'm talking about him. So, you'd just be going, yep, they're still following me around.
He once weirdly came to my workplace to check up on me. Years later, he's still making podcasts about me. That should have been your podcast idea, the Wes podcast.
What's he doing now? Where he's out here talking.
What does that say on that bracelet you're wearing, Tim? What would Wes do?
WWWD. Hang on, I got someone at the door of the church here. Let me just check.
Oh, is it the policeman? Is it the policeman?
Oh, it could be Owen. Yeah, lovely Owen. Let me go and check if it's him. Or someone breaking in and I have to go get him to help.
If it's Owen, bring him in.
All right.
For those who don't know, Owen is the retired policeman who goes to Tim's church and lives across the road from the church. So when Tim's recording late at night and he sees the lights on in the office, he comes in and checks up. Oh, I hope it's Owen.
Come and have a seat, Owen. Here.
Righto, sit alongside of you.
Yeah.
It's Owen. He's coming
Come
on
and have a
screen.
seat here.
Okay, yeah.
Now put this in your ear, Owen, and I'll put the other one in my ear.
Okay, yeah,
Just this ear on this side.
yeah.
All right.
Hi, Owen. It's Brady Harron here.
This is my friend Brady. Can you see Brady there?
Yes, I can, yes. Oh, nice to meet you, Brady.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, you keep good company, obviously,
I do.
with Tim. Yes, yeah.
I think Tim's one of the luckiest ministers in Adelaide to have a pair of eagle eyes watching the church every night for any happenings.
Well, I think I'm lucky to be blessed with such a great minister.
What brought you over to the church? Were you just checking up on the lights and the activity late at night?
Oh, I just saw that Tim was over here, and I thought I'd just pop over and say hello.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I haven't really spoken to him for a couple of weeks, so I thought and I missed a meeting the other night, so I thought, I'll if I'm not annoying him too much, I'll pop over and say hello.
Tim tells me that you were once one of Adelaide's finest. You used to be a police officer.
Yes, I had 40 years with that enterprise. Yep.
How was it?
Oh, it was good. I'd do it again. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I joined up at a time in 1961 when there was a severe economic situation and so on, and I had a job that wasn't all that secure, and my father said, or a friend of my father's actually said to me, "Why don't you join?" He was a police officer. He said, "Oh, why don't you join up?" And I thought, "Oh yes, that's something I can do." I never intended to stay very long. It was always going to be sort of just another one of those things, but the longer I was there, the more I enjoyed it.
Oh, and did you ever get to carry a gun?
Oh yes, yeah, not regularly, only in special circumstances.
Yeah.
And I spent 4 years on the homicide squad in my detective days.
Oh.
And we had to have a monthly regular shoot because as a member of the homicide squad, I was ex officio a member of the Armed Offenders Apprehension Group.
I tell you what, Owen, I bet a retired homicide cop could make a fantastic podcast.
Oh, I don't know about that, but had some interesting times, certainly.
Has Tim ever told you the story of how he tried to become a police officer?
No, he hasn't. I'll have to. He's such a busy boy. I don't like to interrupt him too much. But
you should ask him about it next Sunday.
Okay.
He was rejected by both the South Australian and the Victorian police.
No. Well, he's got all the characteristics, I think, that would suit South Australia.
Why do you think Tim would be a good police officer?
Oh, he's sharp. He's got a good brain. He's mixes well with people. He's got a very good rapport. He's very, very easy to have a conversation with, and he's obviously enjoys being with people, and he's got a good sharp brain, and that's a great asset. I worked with a guy who I used to envy him actually because he had a photographic memory, and he could listen to a long conversation about something, and he'd take it all in. Tim would be like that. He would have it instantly, amongst other characteristics.
I think Tim's problem centred more around fitness.
Oh, well, that's a fairly important dimension.
Well, Owen, he's giving you half the story here. I can clarify this for you later on. And a little bit of detective work into this story is required to get to the essential truth. The fundamentals of it are pretty accurate, though. I'm not a police officer, so that bears out.
Owen, can I say it was really lovely to finally get to meet you. You're sort of a little bit famous on our podcast because of sometimes coming around and visiting and checking up on the lights at the church. So we think you're a bit of a hero. So it's lovely to finally put a face to the name.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah. Well, it's been nice to meet you. Yeah.
Hopefully next time I come along to Tim's church for one of the services, I'll get to meet you in person.
Please do. It'd be lovely to meet you. Yes.
All right. Take care, mate. Thanks for your time.
Too. All the best.
All right. Okay.
Thanks, Tim.
The legendary Owen.
I can come back.
I'll see you. How about when I'm done, I'll pop over and see you. How's that, Owen?
That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you lock the front door on the way out, Owen?
I will.
Thanks so much. See you soon. Bye-bye. Well, that's a bit special. You're a bit lucky.
I'll tell you what, I'd make him an unmade colonel, but that would be a demotion for Owen.
That's right. He's got such a fantastic police voice, doesn't he? Just the great baritone.
Yeah.
So reassuring, but authoritative, but friendly.
Brilliant. I was ready to confess to a murder I hadn't even done.
So I didn't see a Ferrari. I didn't. I made it all up.
Oh, what a lovely interlude. This episode has been sponsored by Storyblocks. Everyone, get out a piece of paper or your phone or something right now and write this down. Storyblocks.com/unmade. Storyblocks.com/unmade, because that is the website you need to go to right now or straight after this conversation, because that is where you are going to find an online library of stock media, video, audio, pictures, After Effects and Premiere Pro templates, all that good stuff that you can use royalty-free in your own creations. They've got subscriptions that will fit any budget, including their special unlimited all-access plan, which, as the name suggests, gives you unlimited downloads. I use Storyblocks. In fact, I use Storyblocks pretty much every day, I'd say, for sound effects in my videos and little video clips and things I need for my YouTube work and my podcast work. One thing worth mentioning as well is they're always expanding the library, and one of the things they're really working on at the moment is getting more diverse and inclusive content into that library. They've got this project called Restock, which I think is quite a clever name, and that's their commitment to increase representation in stock media by hiring creators from marginalised communities to make content that's more reflective of the diverse world we live in. They're doing it all, Storyblocks. What a marvellous organisation.
I'm searching up pictures of policemen, policewomen.
Ooh. Yeah?
Yes, there's
Good stuff there?
loads, like 250, yeah, have come up initially, yes.
So if we were making like a fictionalisation of Owen's career,
Yes.
and we needed stock footage of like police walking the beat and, apprehending offenders, we could use Storyblocks material instead of having to go out and expensively make all that material ourselves, which we wouldn't make as well anyway.
That's right. In fact, in the video section, there's 764 little bits of footage all over. It's not all of Owen, obviously, but it's of other people.
No, but it sort of is representative of the sort of work Owen did.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Go and check it out, people. Storyblocks.com/unmade. If you do anything creative in pretty much any format, Storyblocks is going to be a very, very useful arrow in your quiver. That's right, isn't it? Arrow in your quiver? Yeah.
Quiver of arrows.
Weapon in your arsenal? Something like that. Storyblocks, it's essential. It's essential for me anyway. And it should be essential for you. Should we do my other idea I had?
Yes. Oh, a double idea from Brady. Here we go.
This idea, before I start, I want to do like a bit of a disclaimer, because this is quite a fun idea and I mean it in a spirit of fun and laughs. But I realise for some people it can be a more sensitive subject for various reasons, and I'm not blind to that, but do take this purely in a fun way. Because this idea is called The Ghost of My Ex. And I'll tell you where this idea comes from. The idea actually comes from when we had the author and our friend John Green on the show. And John got a spoon for us, a spoon of the week from his own house. And he had this souvenir spoon that he said belonged to his wife. And he didn't know the story behind it because he thinks it came from some holiday that she had been on with an ex that she had before she even met him. And it had just stayed as part of their family. And that made me realise that many of us who are in relationships of some sort still have these sort of objects or legacies and things in our life, in our world, that are these kind of echoes or ghosts of former partners. A classic example from my house also comes from the kitchen. My wife had these kitchen knives that we have only just recently replaced after many, many years of marriage. And they were her ex-boyfriend's kitchen knives. He was apparently liked cooking and bought these fancy knives. And she kept them when they broke up. And then they became our knives. And they were our knives for years and years. And every time I looked at them, I thought, oh, that's her ex's knives. That was like a ghost of her ex. I think lots of us have these things in our life. And I think I don't know. I think I look at them quite fondly and funnily. Some people might not. I don't know. Is this something that resonates with you in any way? Like, are there ghosts of exes in your house?
Yes, well, I found one that was really, really quite funny. One of the Bibles that my wife was still using and reading around the house is one that she's had for a long time. And you know, when you might have done this with a textbook at school, you know how if you hold a book, a thick book, sideways, you can kind of write on the edges of the pages? Like you can, you know what I mean? Draw a picture and stuff on there.
Yeah.
And I've actually forgotten his name, but she had like in massive letters down the side of the spine. It's not the spine, it's the other end of the spine, isn't it?
Yeah, the paper, yeah. So that if you flick the pages, the word kind of appears before you. Like,
that's right, yeah. She had I and then a big red heart and then his name, whose name I can't remember, which is maybe just as well. Yes, down the edge of this Bible. So it's like a teenager's Bible, you know, with the
and she just written I love my boyfriend. Right. And she still uses it now as an adult.
Like I found it, we've been married 10 years, you know, and she's still got that Bible and using it and reading it and stuff as one of the ones around the house somewhere, like for study. And it was just like, it's just so awesome.
It's a weird thing to write you love your boyfriend on a Bible. That seems like a sacred text. Like,
yeah, I know. You should write I love Jesus, if anything. But I mean, that's what you do, isn't it? When you're a teenager, you write, you know, on just about everything: your pencil case, your bag, your ruler. You just graffiti stuff.
You didn't get funny and ask for that Bible to be removed from the house.
No, I thought it was great. I thought it was hilarious. It's still around here somewhere. It might be on my shelf, even at my academic office, where I've got heaps and heaps of Bibles. It's somewhere. We didn't throw it out, so it's a. I thought it was hilarious. Inside, there's all sorts of graffiti and stuff like that as well. Other things she's written, which is nice. But
Also, like, even if you were funny about it, which I know you're not, but you can't really ask someone to dispose of a Bible.
Maybe you could just guillotine carefully along that edge, you know, like
shave it. Shave it off. Shave each page.
I'm out there with a wood plane. Zoom, zoom. Taking the Bible down a little bit. I've got other things. I can't think of anything too particular. A CD from a girl that I dated years and years ago. Actually, that's something a bit different. You know, something they've bought you as a gift. You don't really want to get rid of that. If it's something that's theirs and you've ended up with it, that's a bit different, isn't it, to something they've given you that's, you know.
I can imagine if it was a piece of jewellery that someone was still wearing that was a gift from an ex, that might start veering close to the territory where you'd feel a bit, I don't know how I feel about that.
Like an engagement ring.
Well, that's a extreme example, yeah.
Yes.
That might be a little bit like, do you have to wear it on your body every day? I'm not sure about that, but you know, tattoos would be a problem.
You can't really hand them back though, can you? It's a good idea. There can be mines in this field.
Yes, it can either be an interesting jumping off point or it can be, a slippery slope to some awkward conversations. I mean, all the ones in our house are fun. There's a few decorations around the house that my wife bought on holidays with an ex-boyfriend, and you know, they're just such amazing objects that we have them on display. But I have no problems with that.
Like a portrait that he had done of himself.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like, as a podcast idea, a great first question in the conversation. But the second question, after they've said, oh, this is the object and this is where we got it, the second question is a bit fraught. Like, if the second question ends up being, tell me more about your relationship with this person. And then suddenly you're...
Conversations, though, about exes, I think, are interesting. You're right, they're total minefields and, like, you know, it's not somewhere most people would want to go. But sometimes, like when you've had a friend or someone in your life for the last 5 or 10 years, so you've only known them as, like, an older adult, and you know everything about them now. You don't often ask people about their exes. Like, I'm sure you've got friends about your age who you've had for about 5 or 10 years, right? And you've probably known them as married men, perhaps, to one woman all the time you've known them. It's not a conversation that comes up a lot. Tell me about your exes. Who did you used to go out with in your teens in your 20s. Like I had a mate, and I've been mates with him for 10 years, and he's been with the same girlfriend the whole time I've known him. And I remember one day we went for a drive, and I just asked him a bit about his exes and what they were like, who the people he'd gone out with before were like. And it was like he was a whole new person to me. He was talking about, I can't imagine you going out with someone like that, who did that job or who looked so different. And like, it can really be it can make you look at people in a whole new way. Like people like you and I, it doesn't work for, because you know all my exes and I know most of your exes, and so then it's not interesting to you. You've seen the evolution of the people I go out with. But if it's someone who's new to your life and you've never opened that door before, and suddenly you find out with, funnily enough, I remember I had this conversation with my dad recently. I went away on a trip with my dad, and I'd only ever known him married to my mum and his second wife. And we were just like, having dinner. And I asked him, what girlfriends did you have before you met Mum? Did you have any long-term girlfriends? Who were they? Tell me about them. And he told me about these people who I'd never heard of before. And it was amazing. And it was like this whole new world. So it can open up a really interesting new world on your friends when you find out about their exes and their previous relationships, if it's a place you can go.
It can define a season. You go, that year or this particular time. And so it's a way into finding a bit about what they were like at that time, rather than just their childhood and then how they are now. You're right. It's a specific insight into a whole bunch of habits and activities.
It also makes people seem more three-dimensional, that they had this whole other life and world going on before you met them that you've never really thought about. They've got this whole history, and they've got this whole world of memories and happiness and pain and things that you were completely blind to, but is such a big part of who they are.
You also, by definition, you're not with them anymore. And so obviously you broke up. It ended. It's interesting with the hindsight of 20 years or whatever it's been to look back and go, and reflect on what you did at that time and how you handled it or what happened and all that. And you know what I mean? It's you could do that with a whole range of situations in life, maybe a job situation or a dilemma somewhere. But you look back with wiser eyes and go, I can see, what I did there or what happened there. Now I can get it.
It is a fraught topic. I'm sure it's a place we won't go again. We've got as deep as I think we dare risk go today. But it is interesting. It is interesting. It is an interesting part of life. Did you have any secret words you needed to smuggle into today's episode?
No, I haven't been home. I have to say yet. I've been at work all day, flat chat, and then I've come straight here, and I haven't had any. I'll just check the phone to see if someone thought of sending one in, but no, nothing. So that's a relief. I'm not in trouble.
I'm trying to decide. I think you look slightly older wearing a suit.
Well, I think most people do, don't they? It's actually not a suit. It's a sports jacket, but I've got sort of other coloured pants on. It's not, strictly speaking, a suit.
What trousers are you wearing?
It's sort of some olive-coloured. They're dress pants, but they're a little bit tight. Yeah. It's more of a sports jacket, sort of white shirt combo. Yes. Okay. Very nice. Yep. You're off to play tennis?
Off to play tennis, yes. I'm playing tennis with a retired policeman as well.
Wow. That's
like Owen.
Such a quaint English experience. I'm going down to the village to play tennis with the policeman.